Hello, welcome to YeiraLab. I am Ernesto, and we were starting right now the episode 7. This time we're going to be talking about a core topic of our toolkit, which are evaluations and question types. So let's start showing here my screen. I'm going to start right off my repository folder on GitHub, and you will see that I have prepared here the episode 7 files. So I'm going to start with the document here, and we'll just open up on an integrated terminal here my browser sync so that we can see this example. So in this case, I'm going to touch as little as possible my files. I prefer now to focus on the examples that we have, and I'll show you some of the structure of each of these questions and maybe some of the configurations. So first, let me just go to my browser now. You're going to be seeing here two things. First, we have all the questions and all the examples, and below that you have our new interface for learning analytics. So this is a brand new change just from overnight, and now we have all the data concentrated on these icons and the histograms as well. So we'll be changing this with time. We're going to be improving every day the visualization of this data and the way you interact with it. So what we are trying now to do is to clean it up so that it doesn't take a lot of your space. And if you've been following all of our live sessions for YeiraLab, you will remember that we've been talking about learning analytics a bit. And the idea here is this block is only available for admins. It's only available for the access that has privilege to see this content. Normal users or students are only going to access the question and the feedback that you have programmed for them. So just a reminder that this is your admin interface to collect the data that comes out of each question. Okay, so we are starting with a normal document. I have here this single page, and through this page we're going to be showing one by one these different examples. So the first example that I have here is a true-false question. And this is a trick question because it's actually a multiple option, or a single option, I should say, where you just have two options and both options are configured as true or false. So if I go over here, I'll see that I can put the question in any format that I want. In the case, it's important to notice that the question doesn't have or doesn't prescribe any type of title or description. It only contains the options. So that means you need to provide with a text or with another suitable element here above your own question. So this is good because then you can, instead of using a text question, you could also put a video, or you could put any kind of media, and it's going to be showing on top of your options immediately. So if I go over here and click on true, and sorry, you know that I still have some translation to do, so you'll see some Spanish coming through. But nonetheless, this is send my response. If I click on this, then I have the points assigned to this question and a certain feedback depending on the option that I gave. And after I did that, I saw an update here. And let's just see the Learning Analytics panel here. This is only for this question. And you see that this question has been answered 7 times on my local host. And I can see the scores, maximum, average, and minimum. I can see also the times for a reply. And we need to remember here that the time is counted from the moment the question appears on your screen. So if I'm right now below here and I scroll up and then the true-false question appears, then it starts running. So it's kind of the best trade-off that we could figure out to measure time. Of course, people could trick the system, saying, okay, I check the question, then I figure out my reply, and I go down and reset the time. But we're all adults, and we want to get great feedback. These are not questions intended to evaluate strictly a certification. You can use them in that way, but in this case we're providing feedback, so we expect to have just these analytics coming out without too much bias of people who want to trick the question. Then you have a couple of buttons here. The first one is download the quick report, and if I click on this, I'll get a CSV file. I'm not going to do that today, and the full report. And we have an extra icon here. We're figuring out how this should roll out, but it's delete statements, which is useful for certain type of quizzes where you just have let's say you have a batch of students that just went through this for this semester, and then you want to clean up your quiz, so you can come here and delete the statements and start a new batch fresh. So we saw that true false is actually a single option with different with just two options. In this case, now we're seeing single option, and we have 3 alternatives. And the question is, which questionnaire tool includes front-end learning analytics off the shelf? Of course, this is Bloom, our toolkit. And by the way, it's very likely that we're going to change Bloom. Bloom is going to stay as an internal project name, but the brand is probably going to be Yeira Toolkit. So maybe I should just upgrade that right away here. If I click on this and put here Yeira Toolkit and come back here, I'll have my single option question refreshed. There it is. And then if I click on this, then that's a correct answer. And I have an extra total response here, or a response added to the total. Then you notice that in this case, we have the single option, and the layout that we have for the options is vertical. And on this other example with multiple options, we have a horizontal layout. So let's just check this, how it's done. So you see that here I have this display grid, which is actually a CSS property that is exposed here inside of this question. So if I just comment this as the next example, or just omit that, then we're going to have the options coming side by side horizontally. So again, this is the way you can change the display. And you'll see that the multiple option question is just the same object. It's a question again. But the main difference here is that instead of assigning a single credit for just one option, you have assigned credit 1 to any values or any options that are correct. So the way this evaluates is, this question is, which platforms are out of a question for analytics? Then you need to select those that won't support learning analytics, and then you can click on Adobe Flash and Rise 360 and leave this out. So if you do this then and send your response, then all is going to be coloring in green, which means this is correct. If you miss one of your checkboxes, or you click on a checkbox that you shouldn't have, then it marks or it colors in red, a wrong option. So that's the way this works. We're going to figure out ways to improve the interaction. Sometimes multiple option can be confusing, especially when you have grading systems where wrong option is not only marking 0 points, but it marks negative points. There are some quiz systems that do that. So we're improving this more and more. And another alternatives that I have here is the multiple option using multimedia. We saw this example many times, so I'm just going to click on anything, and we'll see that in this case we have a feedback that has a video. So if you would like to have, instead of images here, you would like to have multiple options for 3 or more alternatives that have a video in the box, you could do that. It's possible to do that. So imagine that you're given 3 videos or 3 audio files. You need to listen to them or see them. or watch them, and then you need to select which one of those meets a certain criteria. That's something you can phrase on the question. So there we go. Then this is an interesting way of presenting multiple options. We call it matrix selection. And in this case, let's look at the code for matrix selection. What you have is 2 dimensions. The first dimension would be the options again. So I have here my options. And these options are going to be aligning vertically on this side. So I have 4 alternatives here. I have 4 key phrases or concepts. And then I have an extra element here, or an array of values. So I have options and values. And the values are going to show horizontally for each of the options. So you see that here I put these 4 concepts. The question is, classify the following inventions that you see on this side, on the left side, depending on the period of history to which they belong. So you need to check this matrix, or these options, and you will see that for a single row you can only select 1 alternative. And then I can send. Let me just try to do this right. So computer revolution would match to mobile phones. Then, of course, steam machine is industrial revolution. Then the telescope is really ancient technology. And modern era would be the telegraph. So if I send this, then I have all painted in green. And you can also use this matrix selection for, instead of doing a quiz type of question, you could use it also for polls. So that means instead of having grading, so you see here, if you go up here, I have here a certain number of points marked. So instead of having this grading, I'm just going to skip that, and then my matrix selection is not going to be graded, so I have no points, and I'm just sending the data that I want to show or display. Okay, now let's see another example. This is a question, again, this is a single option, but as I say here, this is a real deal because you don't get any feedback. This is what you would call a summative evaluation, or summative question, which means you're not given a feedback. You want to really assess the knowledge of your student. So how do you do that? The way you do that is omitting the feedback. As long as you don't provide a feedback on your options, you see here, I just have a value that gets collected on our backend, a display item, and a credit, but no feedback at all. So as compared to any of this, you have a feedback and you have something to display. If you don't want to display feedback, but you want to grade the question, then what you could do is just put here an empty feedback object, just like this. Or you can put feedback true, actually. If you do that, then you will get the visual feedback. So the buttons are going to be colored in green or red, depending on the answer. But you're not going to be displaying below any feedback text or additional information. So if I just select here my reply, my response, my answer, and then I send it, then I'm not going to get a hint of what was the correct answer. And yet the data gets collected. I get an additional response, and everything then works fine. If I want to collect the data, I will do that. Okay, we've seen this example many times. I call it a cycle through. And what I mean with that is you have these options marked in blue, and then if you click on them, they will change their values, and then you need to adapt this sentence to a correct phrase or correct statement. So here, the great Jedi Master Yoda would say, fear is the path to the wild side, probably not, but dark, and fear leads to anger, and anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. And if I click on this, my feedback is going to come as colored blocks. All of the phrases that I selected, or all of the blocks, they could actually be complete phrases. They change now to green, and then I get the full points for this option. Now, another thing that you could do with this same object, for the moment it's called CycleThrough. Probably we're going to change this name for something that makes more sense. At the beginning, the only option that we had here was CycleThrough, but now we also have fill in the blanks as you know, kind of an alternative for this question. So here, what I do in order to display a fill in the blanks block here or text is, instead of putting options, let's look at the alternative here. So CycleThrough would be like this. I have, within options, I have a display element, and then I have a multiple texts. So this is an array of different texts. The first option is always the correct one, and then you put alternatives that are distractors. You could put as many as you like. Then if I just skip the options here, I just put a single text, then of course I cannot select that clicking, but what the system will do is interpret that as a fill in blank. So what I need to do now is to type here suffering, and probably let me just try this, I think it should work. If I put it with capital S and I send it, then it recognizes that it's correct. I could do this all caps or any other way. And we're going to figure out as well how to deal here with patterns. For instance, if I just want to detect suffer as the root of, you know, a certain family of words that would match this phrase, then I could type, instead of suffer, and then an asterisk, and that would mean match any pattern that comes in this fill in blank. So finally, this is a beautiful example that we have with drag and drops. This is called sort, and this is a more kind of interactive type of question. For the moment, this sort question will depend on your styling inside the options, and this is a great thing. We don't depend on, you know, a single format for our options. You can put inside whatever you want, and in this case, we have these options made of blocks. So it's not a single text. It's a block that has a box with a certain margin and padding, and inside you have a title with a white text, and then an image. And then we're making the title fit a certain height and width so that you can have these boxes. And we put all of this inside of a column so that we don't spread through the whole width. And we have our boxes here, or our cards, organized in the center. So now the question is, organize or order these images according to the history of animal evolution, where the first would be leftmost. So the correct order perhaps would be frogs, then birds, then monkeys. Probably birds evolved from reptiles, which evolved from frogs, and monkeys are mammals that probably came after birds. So if I send my reply, I'll get my whole points here. And there's something interesting about this sort options type of question. Imagine that I have 10 options. So it wouldn't be that much fair if I miss one of the sequence or the order, let's say, of one of the cards. I would like to have 0 points on that if some other cards were properly ordered. So let's just reload this page, and I'll show you how this question will give you partial grades. So I'm resetting again my quiz, and I have here this order. So as long as the sequence is correct between two of these blocks, so let's leave it like this. So birds, of course, is wrong, because frogs would need to be first and then birds next. But frogs is an evolutionary step that happened before monkeys. So this relation here, so frogs before monkeys, sounds correct. And then let's send this, and you see that I get a third of my points. So why do I get a third? Because the first block needs to compare to the correct position. So if I put frogs, and I still can change this, this shouldn't happen perhaps, but if I put frogs at the beginning, this is correct already. And then this would give me a third of the points. Then I need to have a correct order. And if I put monkeys, then monkeys is correct. It's after frogs, but birds is not. So this order here would mean 2 of 3 options correct. Let's try that just to see that. So now I'll put frogs at the beginning, which is correct. Then I'll put monkeys. This is wrong. Monkeys in relation to frogs is okay, but then birds in relation to monkeys is not coming after. So if I click on that, then I have 6.7 points, which is 2/3 of this question. So this is the way it works, and for me, it's a way in which you can accommodate for these slightly nuances in the sequence that your students may respond. Okay, so and at the end, you get here a report. It's almost all in Spanish. And in this case, as I reloaded the quiz, that I'm not getting that extra information. Let me just go through all questions. Imagine that I'm just starting this quiz, and I'm click randomly here, as just like this. So if I haven't answered all of the questions, then my report block, which is an independent code element, I can show, or I can just hide. I just skip this, but I'll need to put here overall results. And why are we doing this? Because we don't want to restrict the way you organize your results. Maybe it comes on a different page. Maybe you don't want to show it at all. Maybe you want to show that at the very beginning, or you want to show it twice. So you're free to display in any way. You can put it in, and even in a collapse box or a model box. You can do whatever you want with this result. So it comes like this, and this phrase here, make sure you answered all of the questions, means that I won't get a grade unless I finish all of my questions. Then let me just finish all of them. Okay. And then send this, and now you see something different. It says, thank you for your responses, and it'll give me a certain number of points, a percentage, that is the result of dividing the points between the total points. Using here, what I have is all of the questions have 10 points, and I have 9 questions. We can count them if you want. You'll see that on the source code. So the grade would be like 63%. And then I have a result that's approved. So where do I change this? Let's just look at that on our config file. And you'll see that in my config file, I have a point scale here that is a numeric value of what do I want to provide as end result. And I have a passing grade. The passing grade is from these 10 points, or maybe 100 could be, 60% of these points, or 6 of 10, is my passing grade. If I get whatever I get on top of 6, this is passing. This is approved. So you see here my results, and this is the old format for the analytics. We're going to change this report format as well to this more shortened format, and the alternative to also delete your statements if you want to reset your quizzes. But let's just look at this quick report. So I'm going to save this file, and let me see where this ended up. Downloads. This is okay. This is Bloom Toolkit E07, episode 7, and then you see here all my results. So this very last one, I have this timestamp. We're going to change this format to something more readable, but I have the duration in seconds, and I have the score, which is right this, and then I have an action. This action is actually a verb. It says now completed. So this is actually what you're getting out of the report, or the XAPI implementation that we have on the Learning Analytics module. And that means you get extra data about all of your questions and different types of events. I can also download the full report. Let's see where it ended. It's not here. Full. Okay, yeah, save file, or yeah, save. And it's going to show up here, full. And the full report has more information. It has all the complete statement, which is compliant with XAPI. So you'll see, again, I have right now I'm running the test user, which is what runs on your local host when you're running your local server. And I have this verb ID, which is the normed verb of your quiz or of your questions. And I have an object ID, which is the URL that generated this data, and a context ID, which is the ID that I gave to this quiz. So I have three important indices. The first thing is the user who answered this. The second would be the object ID, which is where did you answer? And this is second. The third would be what quiz did you answer specifically? So we know that I answered in the local host, as I answered the Bloom Toolkit E07 quiz, and then I have all the extra information. If I want to drill into the actual response, I can find it here. So I have a result response that has all the points awarded to each of the questions. You see it's all over here, YeiraLab Q1, Q2, and so on, until Q9. Then I have a score, a raw score, a maximum score that you could get on this quiz, and a minimum, a scaled score, and then I have a version, which is if you have multiple quizzes, then you can control also if they start moving versions up. And this is a moment expressed in an integer number, which is when did all this change? What was your last change? So if you see, I was actually wondering why did I see on the last block a past event when a completed event when I actually passed the exam? And this is because perhaps the order at which this is coming is unsorted. So my last event is, I remember, I have it here. If I have 63% of my grading, then I just missed my result here. So the event I'm looking for is a past event that has the grading score raw. It's going to be 57 points. This one, 57.5. This is the one that's matching my points here. And you see this is actually a past event. Well, no, it's indeed a completed event. Then probably you need to check out what's happening with our verbs system here. Okay, so we're going to be figuring out ways to add more and more questions. But as you see, there's plenty of things that you can do with this already. I think I still have extra time to show you a couple of things very quickly. So the fact is that we also have here, I need to set it up for next time probably. But inside my config file, I can also do something like this. I can define a bank, and inside of that bank, I can select different question categories. So you remember every page has a category. So now imagine that I have 20 questions, and I have 10 of them are coming from math, and another 10 are coming from physics. And I want to pick 5 questions from each bank. So I'm going to write here math 10, no, math 5. I want to select 5 questions randomly from that 10 question bank that I have for math. And then I want to put physics, also select 5 questions. So what this will do is we're going to be picking questions randomly and displaying, it's not actually questions, it's actually pages. And we're going to be displaying one after the other. So 5 random questions from math and 5 random questions from physics. And I can also do something like this, which is pick all of the questions from physics and randomize them and display them here. So this is a very powerful feature. I'm not going to be able to show that in a few seconds that we have left, but you just need to play with the pages here. So each question, you put a question for each page, and then you add a specific category. And with that and this bank definition, then you can have very powerful quizzes where each of your students is going to receive a personalized quiz. And there's, of course, there's also ways in which you can limit the attempts. You can also have kind of an exam where your student is going to come and you just have a single attempt, something like coming here in your default attempts. And you say, you just have one attempt. So once you answer your quiz, then if you come the next time, you're going to find your responses. If I defined the feedback configuration to show you that. If I didn't, then you're going to you will see your final report or the results. What was your grade, and if you pass or not. And then it was an exam, so you don't have an extra attempt. It's not something you can redo time and again. So not enough time now to show this, but I wanted to show you a bit of what we have for question banks. Not going to say that. I don't want to break things here. But anyway, I hope you really enjoy this session. It was really the very beginning of our toolkit was quizzes. So this is one of the strong capabilities that we have on our toolkit. And as you see now, we started with quizzes, which were just like what we showed here. But as we've seen on the past episodes, we can recombine things in whatever way you would like. So if you want to have a quiz ordered in this way, a single page with all your questions, you can do that. But you can also place those questions interspersed with different types of elements or explanations or videos or multimedia. So it is very flexible. What the system is going to do, if you have questions all around, is when you start, the questions are going to report to a single store. So they're going to kind of launch an event saying, I'm a question, so take my my result as part of the list for the whole result of the whole content. So wherever they are, they're going to be collected, and then you will be adding all of those results in a single list. And at the end, once you check that all of those questions were responded, then you get a final grade. And if this is running on a Yeira platform, then there's 2 extra pieces of data that are going to be going into our learning platform. So the first is a final grade. So if you go now to the platform and you look for the user report and they finish this quiz, then you'll find the final grade there, and you're going to find a progress indicator as well, saying that this person just finished this exam. So in this way, you don't need to rely on the learning analytics part. This is kind of the extra thing that you can have with our toolkit, but it talks natively with our LMS, so it exchanges information already. And if your quiz is living in our platform, if you upload your content in a Yeira platform, then also all of the user context is going to be retrieved. So when you start locally, you get a test user that is just meaningful for your, let's say, purposes for testing, but doesn't mean anything in terms of really reporting to the platform. And if you put that, if you upload that to your Yeira platform, then what you will have is a specific tying of this data to each of the users that reply. So then you will start seeing data that's interesting. You'll see the names and the emails of every person answering to every question and every quiz. So very good. So we'll see us in the next session. I'll see if we can show some of these bank examples. We can show some of the randomized pages, and then you can start exploring on your own as well. But next episode is also interesting. We're going to be talking about social interaction. So within Bloom, we have a couple of blocks that are social oriented. So first we have a chat tool, and I can add the chat tool just by using a chat block as we've used any kind of block now. And it will start kind of an interface where people are going to be able to talk to each other. You don't need to set up anything. You just put chat. We'll show that next time. And you are off. Then we're going to show some other important kind of interaction, that is personal notes. And a personal note is something very useful in training content, where you have a certain text block where you can type whatever you want. If you're studying your materials, you can put there some reminders, or you can put anything that you want to remark. And those if those inputs get collected as well, and eventually they could be analyzed, so that you can, as an author, you can retrieve all of the comments that are coming from these boxes and figure out what's happening with your users. And we also have another block that is more like action buttons, where you just put on every content, you can put these buttons saying, I like this, it was interesting, I was confused, and so on. So it's not restricted to be part of any block, but you can put it anywhere on your content. And it gives you an extra feedback. And also, all this data gets collected and aggregated, let's say, so that your users, if they come and see this content, they'll see the reactions of others. You don't need to have all this chat or forum interaction. You can have all these buttons, and then you have the total number of people that like this content. So this is very useful. It's the way in which we communicate today. All these social interactions are part of what's called social learning. That is, we learn from others while we are looking at the content. It's not a content isolated, and the relation is no longer content and user, but it's the content with a community of users. This is a very powerful way in which you can extend your toolkit and have all of these diverse interactions in a single element on your Yeira platform. Okay, so I extended a bit, but it's really worth looking into these things. The next session is going to be fantastic, I'm sure. And I'll see you then. Thank you for joining me here, and look forward also to exchange also ideas. We are going to come out with extra things in the next episodes. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.